9 justices, 0 dissents, and one Supreme Court ruling just dropped like a bomb on one of the biggest anti-gun legal attacks in the country. If you think this case only affects gun companies, think again, because the hidden rules it clarified can shape what gets banned, what survives, and what lawsuits die fast. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from believing the wrong headline, and that kind of confusion can get gun owners in serious trouble. Hit that button now. Here's what just happened. On June 5th, 2025, the Supreme Court decided a case called Smith Wesson Brands versus Estados Unidos Mexicanos. That's Mexico suing major American gun makers. And the vote was 9-0. Not close, not split, unanimous. Now, most people hear that and think, wow, the Supreme Court just changed gun rights overnight. But here's the crazy part. This case was not about whether you can carry in your state. It was not about magazine bans. It was not about age limits. It was not even about whether AR-15s are protected under the Second Amendment. It was about something quieter and in some ways more powerful. It was about whether gun makers can be dragged into court and blamed for crimes committed by third parties, even when those companies did not directly pull the trigger, make the illegal sale, or hand a gun to a cartel member. And that hidden rule matters a lot, because if anti-gun groups or foreign governments can use massive lawsuits to pressure manufacturers, they may not need to pass a new ban at all. They can try to bankrupt the industry through the courts. That is why this ruling matters. Let me break this down for you in plain English. Mexico said American gun makers helped fuel cartel violence by allowing guns to get trafficked south. The lawsuit claimed the companies should be held responsible because some dealers sold guns illegally, some traffickers moved them into Mexico, and cartels later used them in violent crimes. That sounds dramatic. And emotionally, a lot of people might react fast. But the Supreme Court had to answer a legal question, not an emotional one. The key law here is called plCAA. That stands for the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. In simple terms, it says gun makers and sellers usually cannot be sued just because a criminal later misuses a firearm. If a third party commits a crime, the manufacturer is usually not on the hook for that crime. But there's an exception, and this is the part nobody's talking about enough. If a gun company knowingly breaks a law that applies to gun sales or marketing, and that violation helps cause the harm, then a lawsuit might still move forward. That is the narrow opening Mexico tried to use. Mexico argued the manufacturers basically aided and abetted, which means helped or encouraged, illegal gun sales by dealers who sold to traffickers. Sounds simple, right? Not so fast. The court said aiding and abetting requires more than just knowing bad things happen sometimes. It requires real participation, real help, real intent. In other words, you have to do more than sell a lawful product in the general market, and later learn that some bad actors misused it. Think about it like this. If a company sells a legal hammer and some criminal later uses that hammer in a crime, you do not automatically blame the hammer company. You need proof the company actually joined in the wrongdoing, not just that it existed in the chain, and that is exactly where Mexico's case fell apart. The court said Mexico did not plausibly show that the gun makers took clear steps to help illegal sales happen. The opinion said the complaint was too speculative, too broad, too indirect. Now this is where it gets interesting. The court did not say bad dealers are protected. It did not say straw purchases are okay. It did not say trafficking is no big deal. It said you cannot leap from some dealers, break the law to therefore the manufacturers are legally responsible too, unless you can show real intentional participation. That is a huge difference, because once courts start treating ordinary business activity like a criminal partnership, the rule can spread far beyond guns. Today it is rifles. Tomorrow it could be trucks, knives, social media, fertilizer, or anything else a criminal misuses. That's one reason the ruling was so strong. All 9 justices agreed the line had to stay real. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words that protect you when police ask about your gun. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Now let's talk about why the vote was 9-0, because this is the part that shocked me. When the Supreme Court splits, you usually see one side calling something common sense and the other side calling it overreach. Not here. This time, the justices were united that the complaint did not clear the legal bar. Justice Elena Kagan wrote the main opinion. Yes, Kagan. And that matters, because it shows this was not framed as some narrow partisan win. The court looked at the legal standard and said, Mexico still did not get there. The justices pointed to 3 big failures in the case. First, Mexico said the manufacturers supplied guns to rogue dealers. But here's the problem. The manufacturers usually sell to distributors, not straight to the local dealer on the corner, so the chain was already more indirect than the lawsuit made it sound. Second, Mexico did not clearly identify specific illegal sales. The manufacturers helped make happen. That matters a lot. If you accuse someone of helping a crime, courts want more than a general vibe. They want facts. Which dealer? Which sale? What action did the manufacturer take to make that illegal sale succeed? And Mexico did not give enough of that. Third, Mexico argued the companies failed to police their distribution chains hard enough. In other words, they should have done more monitoring, more restrictions, more control. But the court said failing to do more is usually not the same as joining the crime. That is a major hidden rule from this case. The law often treats action and inaction very differently. Doing something to help a crime is one thing. Failing to prevent someone else from committing a crime is often another thing entirely. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say a store owner knows some people might misuse a legal product. That alone does not make the owner part of every future crime. But if the owner starts coaching those buyers, setting up fake paperwork, or pushing special deals meant to help illegal sales, now you are in a very different place. That is the line the court was drawing. And there was one more point the justices rejected. Mexico also attacked certain design and marketing choices, like military-style rifles and firearms with Spanish-language branding. The court basically said that is still not enough. Why? Because those guns are widely legal, widely sold, and widely owned by law-abiding people too. Most people think if a criminal likes a product, that proves the company meant to help criminals. But the truth is much simpler. Criminals often prefer the same products regular people prefer. That alone proves almost nothing. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. But wait, there's something even more important. This ruling does not mean every lawsuit against the gun industry is dead forever. It means broad, blame the industry lawsuits face a much steeper climb if they cannot show concrete, knowing violations and real assistance in illegal sales. So if a dealer lies on forms, skips checks, helps straw buyers, or breaks clear gun laws, that dealer can still face charges or lawsuits. If a company truly helps illegal conduct on purpose, that is a different case too. The court did not erase accountability. It rejected a shortcut. And that distinction matters for you because headlines rarely explain it. You'll hear people say the Supreme Court just gave the gun industry total immunity. That is not really accurate. You'll hear others say this decision changed nothing. That is also wrong. It changed the pressure point. It told lower courts that you cannot stretch this exception so far that it swallows the rule. And that means future plaintiffs will need much stronger facts if they want to get around plCAA. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners who get these updates first. Click subscribe. So what changes instantly after this ruling? First thing, Mexico's lawsuit got blocked. That is the immediate effect. Second, other lawsuits built on a similar theory just got a warning shot across the bow. If the claim is mostly your lawful products were later misused by criminals, so pay up, that argument is in much weaker shape now. Third, gun manufacturers got a stronger shield against cases that try to treat them like the criminal himself. That does not mean they can do anything they want. It means courts want real proof before letting these cases move ahead. Fourth, gun dealers should not get comfortable. This case is not a free pass for bad apples. If a dealer breaks the law directly, all the danger is still there. Federal charges, civil suits, license problems, massive exposure. Fifth, and this is where gun owners need to pay close attention, your day-to-day state gun laws did not magically disappear after this opinion. Your permit rules did not vanish. Your prohibited places did not vanish. Your transport rules did not vanish. Your duty to know local law definitely did not vanish. This is what most people get wrong. They hear 9-0 Supreme Court gun ruling and assume their carry rights just expanded in every state. No, that is not what happened here. Imagine you are driving through a state with strict firearm transport rules. This decision does not protect you from a bad traffic stop if you ignored that state's law. Imagine you are carrying into a place your state bans. This case does not save you there either, so do not make this mistake. Do not confuse an industry liability case with a carry case. What this ruling really does is shut down one route that activists hoped could reshape gun policy without going through Congress or state legislatures. That is why I call it a firebomb. Not because it rewrote your permit overnight, but because it blasted a giant hole in the strategy of using sweeping lawsuits to punish the whole industry for downstream crime. And there is another layer here. Two justices wrote separate concurring opinions. In simple terms, they suggested Mexico's theory may have had even deeper problems than the main opinion needed to decide. That tells you the court was not barely tolerating this result. Some justices seemed ready to go even further. So where does this leave the bigger gun law fight? Right where it has been for a while. The huge constitutional battles over carry restrictions, possession bans, age limits, and other Second Amendment issues are still being fought in separate cases. Those are the cases that may directly affect what you can carry, where you can carry, and what firearms you can lawfully own. This case matters because it protects the supply side from one kind of legal attack. It does not replace the carry fight. It does not replace the ban fight. It does not replace the self-defense fight. But it absolutely changes the terrain. Because if the industry cannot be crushed through weak chain of causation lawsuits, then gun control advocates have fewer backdoor options. They have to win the hard way, through legislation or stronger facts. And when I found that out, I couldn't believe how many headlines left that part out. This information could literally expire after the next big Supreme Court term reshapes the map again. Subscribe now because the next video explains exactly what you need to watch before the next deadline and the next ruling hit. So here's the takeaway. The Supreme Court's 9-0 decision did not erase your local gun laws, but it did slam the brakes on a major legal strategy aimed at the firearm industry. The hidden rule is simple. Selling a lawful product is not the same as helping a crime, and courts need real proof before they treat it that way. If this video cleared up the noise for you, subscribe right now and stick with this channel. I spend the time digging through these cases so you can protect your rights, avoid bad assumptions, and stay one step ahead. And remember, this is general educational information, not personal legal advice. If your freedom is on the line, talk to a qualified attorney in your state. For factual accuracy, this script is based on the Supreme Court's June 5th, 2025 opinion in Smith and Wesson Brands, unanimous versus Estados Unidos Mexicanos, plus legal summaries from OYES and Congress. Source, C, 2026. Script Scene Splitter, AI GitHub.